And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened. Oh.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Go.
Up. Hawkeye's here.
Hawkeye's here. Move it to the spare.
Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready.
We ready?
Shooters down. Shooters down.
Are we good?
Shooters down.
Shooters down. Are we good to move?
Shooters down. We're good to move.
We're clear.
We're
Let's
clear.
move.
We're clear.
Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Move to the bus.
Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. Get the shoe.
Watch out.
Wait.
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The video that I'm putting together tonight is about some information that I came across this morning, which I can't understand why is not all over the regular mainstream media and all over social media. Okay, it seems like 3 days ago, the New York Post put out an exclusive report with some information about Thomas Crooks. And that, if nobody knows who that is, that's the guy that tried to assassinate President Trump back in Butler, Pennsylvania of last year. I find it very ironic, and I'm not saying now, because if this information is coming out now, it's understandable that, you know, with Trump's transition coming in and all that, they're trying to work things out to put people in place. It's understandable why they haven't investigated it. But here's the thing. There's something in the video that I'm going to point out when I play it, that obviously the information was out last year. And I question it because when January 6th happened, the protest at the Capitol, a lot of the people, okay, even way after a year or two that were at the Capitol, Biden and his demonic regime and people that worked below him in the different departments, they went out of their way to hunt people down and arrest them. Okay, why, oh why a deeper investigation into this didn't take place is anybody's guess, and you don't need many guesses, let's put it that way. Okay, but there's something that came up on this report that I seen, and I was like, you know what, I got to make a video about this, and basically, you know, put it out there, because if the New York Post is putting it out and no one else is talking about it, I find it hard to believe, especially being that it's been out like 2 days. I did drop a video. I did make a video last night of the speech that Trump gave, and for some odd reason, the timeline didn't let me drop it last night, so it came out today. But it's also a long video. It's almost 2 hours long. So if you guys want to go watch it at your leisure. I did a reaction on it. It was pretty good, regardless of what the mainstream media and all these leftist disgusting content creators are saying. But that's neither here nor there. Everybody's going to have their opinion. This video, we're going to check out some new information about Thomas Crooks and the possibility of other people being involved that are still on the loose. Okay, so for sake of time, let's get into it. So like that, you guys can see what I'm talking about. Let's play some music, and I'll show you what's going on. Here we go.
Was Thomas Crooks, the would-be assassin of Donald Trump, part of a larger criminal network?
There were others in helping, assisting Thomas.
And does one private investigator's claim of an electronic device still pinging at his old high school have any merit or implications? Plus, those close to Crooks say public narratives about him are all lies.
It still baffles me now.
My findings in Western Pennsylvania almost 8 months later, right now. On July 13, 2024, a seemingly mild-mannered college kid almost altered the course of human history when he shot Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. But to friends, neighbors, former teachers, and investigators, why Thomas Crooks did what he did is just as much of a mystery now as it was back then. Videographer Matt McDermott and I spent a week in Butler, Pennsylvania and nearby Bethel Park in a sometimes wild journey to find out what really happened.
After all these months, the trail is as cold as the ground that you see in front of me. The motive remains unknown. Why?
What we found shocked us. Even though Thomas Crooks killed one rallygoer, Corey Comparator, and seriously injured 2 others while grazing Trump's right ear, there's a lot of sympathy for him in his hometown of Bethel Park. Several people told us they don't think Crooks acted alone and that he might have been a patsy. Some also accused Biden's FBI of suppressing some information, like why Crooks's body was cremated so quickly and what his overseas encrypted accounts revealed. Private investigator Doug Hagmans had a team of 7 working on this mystery after being hired by a secret client shortly after the event. He says his team used a technique called geofencing. Hagman told me they located 8 or 9 devices, probably cell phones, that belonged to other people, but were pinpointed to being with Crooks at his home, at his old high school, at his gun club, and even at the rally.
Okay, now I'm going to stop it right there, folks. I know it's quick, but that's the one part that got me when I seen this. Okay? What she said that, and I'll play one more time, okay, of what she said about the 8 phones. Pay attention to this one more time.
Team used a technique called geofencing. Hagman told me they located 8 or 9 devices, probably cell phones, that belonged to other people, but were pinpointed to being with Crooks at his home, at his old high school, at his gun club, and even at the rally.
Okay, now you heard that. 8 or 9 different cell phone pings at his school, at the gun club, at his home, and the main thing was when she said at the rally. Okay, now if anybody remembers, I'm gonna go back to the beginning of this. Okay, and if I can pinpoint it when it happened, I did a video on this, and other people have done videos on it also. I don't know if anybody remembers. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get back to that part, okay, where we left off. But right about here, if anybody remembers, there was a woman. I don't know if it shows it here. Let me lower the volume first, and I'll play it again. Right there. That woman right there. Okay? That woman right here. Now, let me see if she does it or if they cut the camera. Okay, they cut it. But that woman right there, and you'll see it in the beginning of this video, if you pause it on the starting, that woman right there was always looked at suspiciously because as soon as it happened, she flipped her camera on her phone. Okay, she turned on to, I guess, record, and was recording everything all the way till Trump went down to the ground. Like she was trying to, like she knew it was going to happen, and she right away flipped out her phone. When I seen this morning, it made me wonder, because the conspiracy was, or is, or the thought, okay, I don't want to call it a conspiracy because it's funny that for the past 8 years, every time the left calls something that, you know, that we want questioned, that we come out and say we want this question, they say that it's a conspiracy, but yet it always turns out to be true. Okay, so bear with me, people. It's not going to be a long video. It's going to be somewhat short. So it made me wonder. Everybody was talking about that they think that there was people on the inside that helped Crooks do this, because there was in no way, shape, or form this guy was going to be able to do this on his own. Okay. Then people started mentioning different names to different companies, different entities, saying that they could have had a part in it, but everything pretty much died out. Okay. So when I heard this, it made me think of January 6th, the way Biden's demonic regime was able to pinpoint people's phones that were at the rally and then tie that in to where they lived, and they were able to go, like I said, to literally different states to pick these people up. One person in particular was the little old lady, who I believe they let her out, that they went to her house and arrested her, all because of the pinging on her phone. So they investigated this, and they found out that there was 8 or 9 people that were with Crooks in school, in his old school, at his home, at the gun club, and even at the rally. How come this information didn't come out last year? Okay, what are the odds that even though people were talking about this one woman in particular months ago, last year, it was called a conspiracy, but now here we are, okay, March 5th. Now this came out 2 days ago, March 3rd, 2025, and this information comes out that there was 8 or 9 electronic devices, that's the term they're using, that they can pinpoint, again, they were at Crooks's old school, his home, the gun club where he went to practice, and at the rally. What are the odds? Now listen, some people may say, well, it was Butler, Pennsylvania. Everybody lived in that area. We can get away with 1 or 2 of those things. We can say that, okay, maybe it was being that, we'll start with point A. Maybe at point A, it was Crooks and some students from his school, 8 or 9 students. And then from there, they used to hang out with him at his house. And then from there, maybe they went to the rally together. That's fine. But what are the odds that they all went to his school, they all hung out with him at his home, they all went to the gun club, and then they all went to the rally? But yet, the narrative is, it always has been since day one, that the kid was a loner. Had no friends, said he was an oddball in school. Okay? Never really hung out with anybody. So how does that work? Now, I'm just looking at all this, outside the box, like I always do. And it makes me wonder, why wasn't this picked up? Or why wasn't, because it wasn't that it wasn't picked up, obviously, because this news reporter got the information. Why wasn't it investigated the way the protesters at the Capitol on January 6th were investigated and picked up with basically no issues whatsoever? They just tracked everybody's phone that was at the rally. They were able to pinpoint it to certain people, to where they lived, their addresses, and they just went and picked them up. I mean, the coordinated effort to do that had to be phenomenal. You mean to tell me they couldn't find a coordinated effort or put together a coordinated effort to investigate these 8 or 9 extra cell phones, or like they say, electronic devices? And we know what they're talking about, cell phones. It makes me wonder. So then it makes me wonder if this woman right here was one of the people's, one of the cell phones, or one of the signals or pings or whatever they want to call it, that this report is saying that those 8 or 9 people, those 8 or 9 devices were tracked to the rally. Just saying, people. Just my thoughts. Let's continue.
Still wants to said he doesn't believe Crooks acted alone and that he was part of a criminal network that's still out there and still wants to kill President Trump.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I think there's sufficient evidence to support the conclusion that there were others assisting Thomas Matthew Crooks, based on the presence of electronic devices at his home as well as at the Butler Fairgrounds.
But to all his neighbors, Thomas Crooks seemed like a regular teenager.
I mean, he seemed like a normal kid. He seemed nice enough. He'd wave and smile, every day, walking around. So it's not like he was like a shut-in or anything like that, Seemed like a very normal teenager.
Everyone we spoke to pushed back on the narrative at the time that painted Crooks as a Columbine-type loner who wore camo to school, was bullied, and even supposedly threatened to shoot up his school once. They told us that was all false. Crooks' former guidance counselor, Jim Knapp, knew Crooks and his parents and older sister since he was in 9th grade.
Do you remember where you were when you heard the news
Sure did.
that Thomas Crooks had tried to kill the person who had become the president of the United States?
Sure did. And it was like, are you kidding me? I said, this kid I would have never, ever thought would have attempted this or never would have done this.
Crooks' former computer technology teacher, Xavier Harmon, was one of many who told us Crooks was not only a very gifted student, but a nice kid. Harmon said he called Crooks, quote, his little buddy.
I didn't believe it. I know the individual I taught and this individual, this picture there, consistent of somebody who was a total 180 of who he was in my classroom.
His Bethel Park high school friend said you can never really know anyone, but still said he was shocked at learning what his old economics classmate did.
This kid that I played football with, sent me a message. He was like, do you know Matthew Crooks? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh wait, Thomas Matthew Crooks, you graduated with him, right? I was like, yeah, what about him? And he was like, that's who tried to assassinate Trump. I was like, get the heck out of here, dude. It still baffles me now.
He went to the gun range 43 times in the year prior to shooting Donald Trump. 43 times to the Clairton range. Did he ever talk about that kind of hobby before shooting?
No, I would have never taken Tom for a gun person, to be honest. He seems more of hang out and play video games type of person.
But those were the people who spoke to us. Many did not. Thomas's parents still live in the very small ranch home in Bethel Park, but have never given interviews.
I'm standing right in front of the Crooks.
Okay, and one quick note before I forget. Okay, sorry, folks. If they were able to find out of those electronic devices that were at the gun range, has anybody ever heard, and if you have, let me know, leave it in the comments, but has anybody ever heard or came across any information where anyone at the gun range was questioned? Because I find it hard to believe a small gun range in a small town, okay, that they wouldn't know who's coming in and out. Supposedly that kid went there 40-something times, okay? But if this investigator said that 8 or 9 of those devices that they can pinpoint it to that gun range, I'd like to know if anybody investigated who those phones belong to. Okay? Because I've been to the gun range before. Now you can go in and wait and hang around the front. Okay, not even get to the range. Once you want to go in and shoot, you got to show ID. Okay? But is it a possibility that out of all those phones that they all went in one at a time with Crooks, or maybe went in without Crooks? Yeah, but I don't see, how can I say, I don't see big odds on that. Like, in other words, I don't see that as a big possibility. I see it more as a very big coincidence. And when it becomes too much of a coincidence, it then, in my opinion, becomes it's borderline conspiracy, if you ask me. Okay? And especially, I wonder if they, whoever was investigating this, if they put a timeline together. What days were those electronic devices pinged at the school, at his house, at the gun range? Was it there when Crooks was there at the same time? If they put all this together, and something tells me that the answer to that is most likely yes, because that's what a good investigator would do. So if this is something that was put together by a private person, I believe they said it was, to decide to pay out of their own pocket for this investigation, what could have been done on a bigger scale? I don't know, let's say by the government, Biden and his FBI, his Department of Justice. I wonder if anybody did on Biden's side did the same thing. These are things that need to be questioned now. Okay? Think about it, people. Why isn't all this information out on the news right now in the past couple of days? But at the same time, if this woman found all this information from investigating the past 7 months, or whoever put this together, you mean to tell me that they have more resources to look up all this information than the federal government has? Think about that.
Where Thomas Crooks grew up. His parents, Matthew and Mary, are inside now. They were inside yesterday. Apparently, they never come out of their house except at 3 a.m. to go get the groceries. This, according to a number of neighbors.
Crooks's older sister, Katie, lives in an apartment complex nearby, but good luck getting to her.
Behind me is the apartment building where Katie Crooks, Thomas Crooks' only sibling, lives. She's about 23 years old. She works as a janitor nearby. And when we went to see if we could talk to her, we were met by 2 men in her apartment building complex that came to the door and told us in no uncertain terms that we had to go. They were polite, but they said, and I quote, "This story is dead, and you need to know that."
Wow.
We also visited the gun club where Crooks practiced an astonishing 43 times between August 2023 and the Trump rally in July 2024.
We are right now rolling up to the Clairton gun range. This is a gun club and a shooting range about half an hour from Thomas Crooks' house. And he went once in May, 2 months before the attempted assassination of President Trump. And the day after, oddly enough, there were officers, agents from the Department of Homeland Security that were here shooting as well.
Louisiana Congressman
Did you guys catch that? Think about it, people.
Clay Higgins told us, however, that he's pretty sure Crooks acted alone. He investigated the incident for months as part of a bipartisan congressional committee, but he admitted to me that he still hasn't found a motive. Higgins hopes the new FBI director, Kash Patel, will help him find out more about Crooks in the coming months. But the people we spoke to said they don't believe the mystery of why Thomas Crooks did what he did will ever be solved.
Why did he do it? I thought I said why I thought, and I really to this day believe it. Evil. You know, from the time he left high school to 2 years later, something happened to that young man during that time frame. And I'm a firm believer, and as we talked earlier, about my current job in the religion, I believe evil is in the world. The devil has hit the world. It has always been in the world. But I think the devil had really inflicted him, caused him to snap, and that's why he did it.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. Now, I'm not putting this video together to find sympathy for the kid. That's not my point here. My point is basically trying to figure out all these things and put them together. I do agree with what this man said, but I also believe, I don't believe that this kid got up, that the enemy got into his head and made him do this. I just don't believe it. And there's a reason why I say that. Okay. If anybody remembers back when Obama was president, Aurora, Colorado, okay, the guy that did the shooting at the movie theater is reminiscent of this kid Crooks. Okay? They were both very smart, into many things in school, whatever their classes were, like science and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, okay, after them getting awards and having, like, you know, high scores and all that, something just snapped inside of them to go and want to just go out and shoot and kill people. Meanwhile, they were saying back then, okay, that basically what they're saying about Crooks now, that they would never guess that the guy that did the shooting at the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado would ever do something like this. The same thing with this kid. The one thing I also find very strange is the way, again, how they're saying about the electronic devices that were surrounding this kid, his school, his home, excuse me, the gun range / gun club, which means that a lot of members are there all the time, so they know faces. Okay, they know people. And then at the rally. And at Aurora, Colorado, the guy's roommate said that there were strange people that he never seen before hanging out with his roommate before he went and did what he did at the movie theater. Not getting into that, just saying. These are all my opinions. Okay? So now we have a dilemma, people. That if this is beyond what we think it is, and we all are probably thinking the same thing, if the Biden administration even cared to look into this with all this information. Because I cannot believe, like I said, with the power and scope of the federal government, especially under Biden's demonic regime, that they didn't have the manpower to do this. Willpower is different. Not wanting to do it is different. Saying they couldn't do it, I can't believe that. I won't accept that. I won't believe that. Okay? But before I end the video, there's something else I want to play real quick about a comment that Elon Musk made not too long ago. Here we go.
The only reason people are criticizing him is because they don't like him, and they know that he is going to align with Trump and make sure that to get all of the bureaucracy and all of the bad players out of the FBI. He said it himself. He wants to let good cops be good cops, and he wants to get people back in the field focusing on violent crime, and that's what he's going to do.
He has another big task, and it was one that was applauded when Elon Musk mentioned it.
I'm sorry about that. That was actually, she was talking about Kash Patel, but now you're going to hear what Elon Musk said.
Yesterday, we know those assassination attempts. There's a lot that Americans are wanting to know. Here's what Elon Musk said Kash Patel will do.
Isn't it like mind-blowing that this has happened? I mean, it just... And what, by the way, why do we still know nothing about that guy in Butler? What's going on?
Exactly.
But Kash is going to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, yeah.
Okay, you heard what he said. Kash is going to get to the bottom of it. And he said the same thing that, like I said, how come nobody's talking about it? And you would think that people would. Now, is Trump sitting on this, keeping it quiet until he gets all his players in play into their respective positions the right way, and then he can say, okay, now we're going to go after this? I would hope so. I really would. We're going to hear the left come out and say that he's weaponizing the Department of Justice. My answer to that is, go kick rocks. Because if anybody, okay, had somebody attack them to try to take their life away, and they survived and had the means to investigate it, to find out who tried to do it, they would. All of yous would. Every single one of yous. Republican, Democrat, liberal, black, white, gay, straight. If somebody tried to put a hit on you and you lived and you found out that it was a coordinated attempt on your life, you would want to know. You would definitely want to know. Okay? You know, I was watching the speech he did last night, and he brought this up. Not in this particular way, but he brought up the fact of how they tried to imprison him and take him down, and he basically just rubbed it in the Democrats' face, and I thought it was great. The whole speech he did last night was fantastic. Okay, except for like two things. Okay, number one, when he talked about going to Mars. I am an earthling. I will keep my happy ass here on Earth. Okay? Not like anybody's inviting me to go to Mars, but I'm just saying that's number one. Number two, when he talked about Greenland. A lot of people are saying that he's a dictator. He wants to take over Greenland. What bothered me when he talked about it is not what he said, because he came out and said if the people from Greenland choose to vote on it, that's entirely up to them to decide what they want to do with Greenland. But right away, the mainstream media today, I mean, even though they picked apart everything, especially the content creators on social media, you're all a bunch of freaking pathetic losers, in my opinion. Okay? That was one of the things that they brought up. A lot of them brought that up about Greenland again. But it doesn't surprise me. It just doesn't surprise me, because not only were they talking about stuff, and this is no offense to the people of Canada, but what's his name? Pierre Poilievre, which, and I really do not dislike the guy, okay? But he came out puffing out his chest last night, and my answer to that is, you know what? Why don't you take care of what's going on right now in Canada? Because the tyrant that has been destroying that country is still in power. But again, that's neither here nor there. But that's what social media and the mainstream media is running on, about what Canada, Pierre Poilievre had to say, and what Donald Trump said about this, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. But the truth remains the same regardless of all that. This kid tried to take Trump's life. He killed an innocent man in the process and wounded two or three others. Severely wounded them. Okay? And yet, the story has died out. And it's not like anybody's trying to suppress it. It's just that people are not talking about it. But now you have the New York Post, okay, which is supposedly a left-leaning news outlet, went and did their own investigation. And you mean to tell me that they had the resources to find out this much more information over Biden's administration? Remember, this report's coming out now. But she said for the past 7 months they've been investigating. The Biden administration had from that day all the way till January 20th of this year to investigate it. And not a peep. And all you lefties out there want to go and criticize what Trump was saying last night and stuff, and you won't question stuff like this, but yet you're still going to say that Trump is the existential threat to this country. Let me tell you something. When Donald Trump came out last night and mentioned Kamala Harris about her not being nominated, all through social media, people are talking about it, and I'll be one of the first ones, or one of the many, to say, thank God that woman did not become president. Okay? Because if anybody thinks for a hot minute that this right here, what happened with Trump, that the ball was fumbled on it, with Kamala Harris, never mind the ball being fumbled, there would never be a game to play. Plain and simple. So I hope, with what the news reporter said about with Kash Patel coming in, they're going to investigate it, and with what Elon Musk said, now I don't know when that clip came out, but it wasn't too long ago, that Kash is going to jump on it. That, and coupled with the fact that I hope, because this is not about having decorum, and we're definitely not going to use the pun about opening up old wounds. Don't want to hear that. This needs to be investigated. And if not for Trump, if not for the two other victims that are still alive, for Campatori. For him, for his wife, and his daughters. This needs to be investigated. People need to be outed and go to prison. Because this, in my opinion, okay, and especially looking at what the news reporter from the New York Post put out, it just solidified that, you know what I thought from the beginning. There was no way this kid one day just got up from school, okay, well, not from school, got up from bed at home, went to school or whatever, and then just for some odd reason, decided to just go get a weapon and go try and take Trump out. Especially on top of the fact that out of the clear blue, from what did she say, from May of 2023 all the way to August of 2024, whatever the case was, I forgot what she said, or from August 2023 to May of 2024, he all of a sudden decided to just take shooting lessons, and then 2 months later goes and tries to take out President Trump. Sorry, man, not gonna eat it. Don't want it. Don't even want to look at that menu. I'll not eat it. I'm sorry. And neither should you. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Pray for this country. Pray for your enemies. Pray for Donald Trump. And pray for all the children that are missing that they brought across the border. Peace.